Some have called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. What's your opinion on that, Stephen? And where does Social Security really stand?
Well, I'll tell you what, Social Security, right? Let's take a look at Bernie Madoff. What was he doing at the end? He was paying off earlier investors with the money from more recent investors.
Right.
That's what Social Security is doing today. Is it a Ponzi scheme? Hey, we're not looking to take on the government, but boy, I'll tell you what, it's paying out earlier depositors with the money from more recent depositors. And the Cliff Note version on Social Security is this. You have a situation where you have Social Security taxes being paid and Social Security benefits being paid out in any one year. Well, in 2003, for example, the surplus you had Social Security taxes here, and the benefits were paid out. The surplus, the excess taxes, was somewhere around $138 billion in 2003. So that surplus, like all prior and subsequent years, was deposited in the Social Security Trust Fund. The problem with the Social Security Trust Fund is this. All that money is invested in special government treasuries, government bonds. Mm-hmm. But remember, when you own stocks, when you buy stocks, you own. When you buy bonds, you loan. So when you buy bonds from the government that fund this trust fund, you've lent the government money, and they immediately spend it. That money is spent. That trust fund contains nothing but promises to pay by a government that is currently spending 40% more than it takes in as it spends the Social Security surplus. So what really concerns us here, and we wrote about it in our reality commentary on July 15th, also, John, we wrote in our recent reality commentary, basically what concerns us is that the surplus Social Security relative to what was paid out in 2003, taxes versus benefits paid out, was $138 billion. 10 years later, in 2010, that surplus was only $68 billion. All right, you have the boomers starting to retire now, and you're starting to see a declining amount of Americans working relative to retirees. The numbers are shifting.
Right.
And so, in 7 years, the surplus has gone from $138 billion to $68 billion. In several years, you could see a Social Security shortfall, not surplus. And then, at that time, the trust fund has to be tapped into. But the trust fund is nothing but IOUs from the government, who's looking to increase their debt, the national debt, from 14 trillion to 16 trillion. The same debt which has gone from 5 trillion to maybe 16 trillion in 11 years. And the same government that actually spends 40% more than it currently takes in. Social Security, in our opinion, it's a disaster.
Should people count on Social Security being there?
I wouldn't, and we advise our clients not to, just simply for the reasons we stated.
Well said. Once again, Stephen, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to speaking to you again.
John, as always, my pleasure.